Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk, and this is what we're going to be making today. It's an aperture card with a flying unicorn. Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk, and thank you very much for joining me today. This is what I'm going to be making today. It is an aperture card with a flying unicorn. Stay with me and I'll show you how I made it. Here are the things that I'm going to be using today. My card base is a piece of thick whisper white, and it's 4 inches by 11.5, scored and folded at 5 3/4. I have a piece of Myth and Magic DSP. I'm using this pattern with the clouds on one side and the stars on the other, and this is 3 3/4 by 5.5. I've got the Magical Day stamps, my colouring pencils, basic black ink, and the Magical Mates dies, which coordinate with the stamps, and the layering circles framelets. I've been over to the Big Shot and I've die cut a piece out of the Myths and Magic DSP, and I'm going to keep this bit because I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use it on the inside of my card, just like that. Now I want to cut the aperture into my base card, so I have some snail here, which is what I'm going to use to attach it to the front of the card, and I'm being quite generous with it. And I'm just going to line that up, try and centre that up as far as I can with where I want it to be, which is sort of about there. Okay. So this was the second to largest of the circles, and this one is the next layer down. So I'm going to pop that onto my card, just like that. It just fits inside the first one. I've got some low tack tape here, and I'm just going to pop that into place just to hold it where I want it, and I'm going to go over to the Big Shot and there is my aperture with a nice even frame around it, and I'm keeping this bit and I'm going to centre it where I want it to be, and I think I'm going to do this one with a little bit of liquid adhesive so that I can wiggle it around if I haven't got it in exactly the right place. So I'm going to line that up with the aperture and just push it down. Okay, and now I've got a window through to the cloud. While I was over at the Big Shot cutting the aperture out of my card, I used the circle that came out of the middle to die cut out one of the little unicorn shapes, and now I want to match it up with its companion stamp. Now the stamp is red rubber, it's not photopolymer, but I do have a tip for lining them up together. So I learned this from watching Patty Bennett, and it's absolutely genius. Okay, so I've got a stamp platform. This isn't the Stamparatus, as you can see, because I have not yet got my Stamparatus. I have my name down for it, so I'm going to use the tonic platform. Now if you haven't got a stamping platform, then you would kind of reverse this process, and I've done that before, whereby you you do the stamping on your card, and then you use this around it to position your die. All right, and I put a link to a video where I've done that in the more information box below. All right, so I'm going to get my red rubber stamp, and here's the outline of my little unicorn. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle that until it's sitting nicely in the aperture there, and I'm just going to pick that up. I'm just going to drop it down. Right, I'm making sure that my card doesn't move around, because my first attempt it did, and I got a wobbly line. I didn't get a wobbly line. I get a misplaced line. I got it here somewhere. Here it is. That was my first attempt. As you can see, not very good. Okay, so fingers crossed that this one works better. Now I'm probably going to be out of shot for this, but I am inking up my my unicorn stamp with basic black, and bring that over and press that down. Okay, and fingers crossed that if nothing's moved, my unicorn, yes, this time has stamped in the right place. I want my unicorn to have a little bit of movement as well as being raised up from the back of my card in my aperture there. So to do that I need some kind of spring. Now there are things that you can buy on the market or you may have in your stash. These were widely available in the UK at one time, but I think they've been discontinued. But you may have them tucked away in a drawer somewhere, just like I did. Or you might be able to get hold of these things, action wobbles. Now these are quite tricky to get hold of in the UK. It did take me a while to track them down. But today I thought I would go old school and I would make my own spring. And I've made one here, which you can barely see, out of 2 strips of acetate, a bit of packaging material. Okay, now this is tiny and it's see-through, so I'm going to show you what I did, magnified and on 2 pieces of card. So very easy to do. Just going to apply some adhesive to one end of my card, and I'm going to join them together at right angles to make a sort of L-shaped. All right. Now for my acetate ones I used glue dots, but this is just a practice piece so it doesn't really matter. So all I'm doing is I'm folding that piece over and then that piece over and then that piece over and then that piece over, and I can carry on doing this for as long as I like and try and make the folds kind of nice and square. And when I think I've got enough, I just put in another piece of sticky and trim them off with my snips. And there I have a paper spring. So I'm going to colour in my little unicorn and give you some music to listen to while I do this, and I'll speed things up a little bit. I've attached the spring to the back of the unicorn cut out with a glue dot, and I'm just going to put another glue dot onto the back of the spring. And now I'm just going to centre the cutout into the middle of the aperture here and push down. Because of the way I've constructed my 3, 2, 1. Because of the way I've constructed my acetate spring, it's lifted my unicorn higher on one side than on the other. Now perhaps if I'd gone back one more turn the other way I would have got a more even effect, but you know what, I rather like it because the whole idea was to have a dimension and to have some action going on, and that's what I've got. So I've also stamped out the "You Are One of a Kind" onto a banner of Whisper White, and I'm just going to pop that in to the middle, and it's definitely one of a kind. And of course if you used a commercially available product you wouldn't get this effect. Yeah, it is one of a kind. And there is my finished card with my flying unicorn, and while I didn't intend it to be higher on one side than the other, do you know what, I actually really do like that effect. It really does look like the unicorn is going to fly out of the card towards me, and of course when I open it up the unicorn is still there. Plenty of space to write my greeting. But thank you for staying with me this far. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, come back and see me again sometime. I'd love to see you. But for now, bye bye.